Now, for further discussion of the latest developments in the One Belt, One Road initiative, I'm joined by our current affairs commentator, Einar Tangen, in Beijing. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Rachelle.
Now, Einar, China is increasingly the top trading partner for a number of countries. So let's start by looking at the ones linked to the One Belt, One Road initiative. How are those trade ties developing?
Well, it's coming along slowly but surely. It's led by the infrastructure investment. I mean, we were just talking about this issue of a train that can go directly from China to London. This is the kind of thing and the symbols of what is to come as future rail, roads, and ports become more available and more used by the Belt and Road Initiative.
Now, in Geneva, President Xi reaffirmed China's willingness to really open up the economy. So what are some of the sectors that are linked to the Belt and Road Initiative that could really benefit the most?
Well, I mean, you have to see this in two things. First off, China depends tremendously on resources coming in. Almost everything that's produced in China is coming in from the outside, whether it's raw materials, it can be agriculture, it can be iron ores, whatever. And what is going out is finished goods. And this is really important to the Chinese economy, their ability to kind of start stepping up, going beyond being these OEMs for large international companies, some of which are leaving China. But in a lot of instances, Chinese companies are stepping up in order to kind of fill that gap. They have the ability to produce cheaply and to cut out the kind of middleman approach that was being used by these large international corporations. They also have much lower overheads, infrastructures.
And as industries continue to modernize going forward, what role will advancements in technology and innovation play in how the Belt and Road Initiative progresses?
Well, this is a really big question. I mean, there's a lot of trepidation, and you've seen this in Davos and a lot of other places, about what exactly the tech innovation revolution will bring. Some believe that it'll be as profound as the Industrial Revolution in terms of displacing people. So there's going to have to be new thinking economically and politically about how people are going. And we see this with Trump and Brexit, a kind of defensive reaction by a lot of developed countries as they try to figure out where the future is. For China, it's very important when they talk about innovation and all the things that will come with it. China feels very strongly that its robotics program, the ability to produce things cheaply that the world wants, is going to, and not only cheaply, but very high quality goods, is the key to its future. So you're going to see all countries all kind of converging on this area as they each try to compete.
Now, let's also take a look at China's development cooperation model. How does that differ from other major economies?
Well, this is the key component, because in most economic theories, what they'll talk about is, oh, you need a large growing population. But growing populations cause other issues, and there's a lot of side effects. China's approach is, let's try to make the existing population more efficient by bringing it up. So a very major component of the Belt and Road Initiative is to add capacity. So as China climbs the ladder in terms of tertiary industries and development and technology, what they want to do is kind of bring the primary and secondary industries, manufacturing, things that are appropriate to different areas. This creates jobs in those areas and makes the whole process sustainable. And this is a very important component of what Xi was talking about in terms of an inclusive economic society.
And as we heard earlier from President Xi, we know that the Belt and Road Forum will be coming up in May. So as we look ahead, what are some of the potential economic or political headwinds that could be ahead for the Belt and Road Initiative?
Well, you know, it's always the same thing. You're dealing with over 60 different countries with different political and economic and cultural systems. It's very, very difficult to create one box that fits all of them. So what China has done is there are multiple routes. They're making sure that they have a very stable structure so that if there's difficulties in one route, they still have the others. And I think this is going to be the biggest thing. China has to develop the kind of business savvy, cultural savvy that allows them to deal in these markets in a very direct way. It cannot be simply, oh, we're bringing trade to you, you should be grateful, we have a great idea. It's really the nuts and bolts of how you put these structures together and then link them up basically across the world.
Now, Einar, back in 2013, when this trade initiative was first announced, it was really viewed as a way to promote regional and international connectivity. So how do you think this will be perceived amid this backdrop of populism and trade protectionism that we're seeing from some really key trading partners like the US and some countries in Europe?
Well, I mean, it's very interesting. What you have here is China is in ascendancy, and I don't mean that just things. It could, in fact, eclipse, by the economists' reckoning, the U.S. economy 2018 or 2019, which means that China's effect economically on the world would be greater than the U.S. This sets up the scenario that with Trump throwing out, all sorts of white rabbits on a daily basis with a lot of uncertainty, and Xi preaching this idea of stability, let's go forward, let's work within the system, that China has the opportunity to start leading the world economically, not in the same way perhaps that the U.S. and the colonial powers did in the past, but in this new inclusive way, which says, look, we're going to be very clear about what it is. There's going to be no ideological link between our economic ties and our future goals. So this is very important, and this is what you see with our RCEP. This is a real different, it's a game-changing type of situation, and it's not something that Beijing is doing by design, but is happening in essence by default.
All right, well, thank you so much. We'll have to leave it there. Current affairs commentator Einar Tangen in Beijing.